Okay, Tuesday morning, August 9th, and I'm getting ready to go back to Ukraine. Not sure whether I'm leaving tomorrow for New York or the day after. I might stay over in New York with a relative of mine, but we will see. I kind of want to just keep all the traveling on one day. It's a lot to change beds. But, this video I want to just comment on my experience here. America is a beautiful country, but it's broken. It's something has really changed here, and it's more than the COVID. And I think it's finally the culmination of this divide between the wealthy and the poor here. It's just getting wider and wider, and I think people are just starting to give up. It's not worth it for them to work. Granted, especially with the benefits now. But instead of attacking the benefits, we're seeing, especially Republicans, they're attacking the benefits instead of, finding ways to make the work more valuable and raise people's standard up so that it's more motivation to work than to take benefits. And they're putting the blame on the people instead of the corporations. Now, I just want to say something here. I voted for Trump twice, but I'm not a Republican. I voted for Trump because I saw that he was talking about health care. He was talking about wage dumping, where they're bringing foreign workers over here and paying them below market wages right on American soil. So he was talking about a lot of socialistic things that I liked. He was talking about better ways to do health care, like his thing with the diabetes medicine, to force drug makers to get the cost down. And he was putting pressure on Boeing to lower the cost of the Air Force One. He had this socialistic, for the people type of attitude, for the common people, not the corporations. And I just wanted to clarify that. People always ask, "Well, why did you vote for Trump?" And if you're not a Republican, and I have to say, I despise Republicans. I find them visceral. I find them opposite. They don't offer any solutions. They just say no to everything and keep claiming constitutionality. And they don't even understand the Constitution is a living document that's subject to change, amendments, and subject to interpretation. Where Trump went wrong is he got into a pissing match with Colin Kaepernick, who had every right to kneel. He had valid concerns, and that's protected by the First Amendment. And instead, he should have shifted the energy to the healthcare, to how to fix healthcare, and he would have won the election even with the cheating. And Trump needs to have a 10-point margin to account for cheating. If he can't win by 10 points, then he shouldn't win. That's just my view. Anyway, so I come to a lot of this conclusion about the brokenness. There's a lot of long processes here still to, like buying the car I talked about in a previous video. Something that takes 30 minutes in Norway took half the day here. Even when you're buying the car with cash, without a loan, it still took half the day. This flight cancellation thing is just, and it's never been like this, where they're canceling 2,000 flights a week, 600 yesterday, 2,000 before. It's just, it's put a lot of stress on me to, I have to figure out how to, get back by bus, take an 8-hour bus ride from Virginia Beach to New York, and buses in America are not like buses in Europe. So I'm really going to have to prepare myself, probably go to the Army store and get some Army food and stuff like that to eat on the way. There's just no one in the restaurants. The restaurants are not clean. That all the tables are sticky. I went to many restaurants, and it's just people look tired. I don't blame them. I don't blame people for this. They're not being paid properly. They're not being paid enough to care. So I really can empathize with them. People have to be paid enough to care and take it seriously, and then they can just get another job. There's such a shortage of labor. But like I said, this is mostly, I think, the Republicans' fault. The Democrats, I'm not crazy about them either, but at least they have some ideas, about what we should be doing. They just can't execute. And then instead of the Republicans being opposite, they should say, yeah, we like these ideas, but we can execute them better. And then they would win hands down, and they could put a Republican flavor, like to the socialism, for example. We have like 3 classes here. We have like the working class, we have like the business class of people, like the millionaire class, I guess, $500,000 to $1 million people, and then we have the billionaires. And the Republicans seem to favor the billionaires, and then they get support from the millionaire class who think that they're really on their side. But you have these corporations, that like Starbucks putting out mom and pop coffee shops, these small businesses. You're having like large hotel chains, McDonald's, everything, just destroying the small business landscape. Walmart, for example. And Republicans could be more into the antitrust, and it's backfiring on them because like Google and all these places don't like them, and they can't do anything about it now. They created these Frankensteins with all their anti-regulation, anti-government. Something else stepped in, the corporation. We talked about 4 different choices for government. Imperfect elected governments, unelected governments like Vladimir Putin or Xi in China. And then we talked about corporations. And then we talked about drug cartels and gangs. So they have created this replacement by corporations. But anyway, the Republicans need to, instead of being no people, need to say we can create the best solution, best socialism, and the best health care, and the best education. And we can get information to all the people. These are the things we need to hear from them. We can solve the housing problem. We can have more competition in the marketplace. We can limit corporate interests in housing. I'll go down the 4 things I think are really important. First is like health care. The Republicans could argue that the corporations have made junk food cheaper than healthy meat and potatoes. So they could impose some taxes to make it McDonald's and Pizza Hut expensive, and then use that money to subsidize proper foods like potatoes and carrots and onions and wild meat like hunted meat or grass-fed meat and grass-fed turkey, and get people eating right, because people choose with their wallet. So if McDonald's starts becoming expensive but a plate full of healthy food is cheaper, people will choose that. If it's cheaper to get potatoes and carrots over a 99-cent box of macaroni, that'll make them obese, and then they have to visit the doctor more often. They need spend more money on long-term care. They're going to choose a healthy food. So the Republicans can propose that. They can. We'll go into housing. So now we're seeing hedge funds involved in housing and single-family homes. That's like the domain of like the working American, and they've entered that and they've turned the society into a bunch of renters. And it's almost like the state owning the houses, except it's corporations. So it's almost like the Soviet Union, except everything is in private hands instead of state hands. At least if it's in state hands in America, journalists and congressmen and stuff can make it a campaign issue and can make it more fair. But what we've seen is the corporations are buying up homes and outbidding people. It's good for me, but I don't like it. I'm owning some homes and all this, but I don't think it's right. And I don't think I would sell to a corporation on principle. But, the Republicans could make some policies to limit the ownership of a house by a private person or a company to 4 units of single-family housing. The corporations should be completely out of single-family housing, if anything. They should be banned. But they could limit it to like 4. So the first house you buy with no money down, and then if you're owning, your second renter house or your vacation house, you get it with 25% down. And then the third house, you buy 100% down, and the fourth house, you buy 100% down and maybe even pay a tax to own the fourth house, to really break this, to keep the market broken up and make it accessible to families so people can start their lives. And yes, we need the government to do this, because the corporations, once they own these houses, they're just going to keep America into this, wage slavery, into perpetuity. That because paying off your house is how you get ahead. Once you pay off that house, like in your midlife, then you start having all this disposable income for other things, and that's actually what drives the economy. And the Republicans don't see the danger of making people renters into perpetuity. Like I said, they're just outright evil. And I'll get back into that. The other one is information. Joe Biden is on the right track to get internet for everyone, and the Republicans could just propose how to do it better. That we have 4G, we have this Elon Musk satellite internet, so that everywhere in America internet is free. And since they're fiscally responsible, they could propose taking the money from Amazon's profits, or taking the money from eBay and all these big companies, Google, and have them pay for it, but without any marketing obligation, that it goes into a blind trust. so that there's not running ads or anything like that, that people get this unconditionally. So that way people have information. And then Republicans could propose to boost education by, taxing these unpatriotic celebrities. We have Colin Kaepernick and we have all these celebrities talking against the country, and that's their right. But they can say, well, you have your right to kneel on the flag and your right to bash America. Fine, that is protected by law, but we have a right to impose taxes on professions that don't provide really any value other than entertainment. So all entertainers, pro athletes and movie stars and all influencers are taxed 80% over $2 million. It's still quite generous. If you're Tom Brady making $100 million a year, even after this tax, you would have you'd still be left with $22 million. It's still, you lost like 60 or $78 million, but you still have 22 left. And 22 million in absolute terms is a hell of a lot of money. It's still private jet money, house in the Hampton money, apartment in New York and apartment in Miami money. So no problem. That's a quite okay tax to give the first 2 million at regular rates, and then anything over 2 million at 80%. And that money would be used to pay inner city teachers $150,000 a year. And that would attract Harvard grads and Ivy League and top state school grads to the inner city instead of the Wall Street. And they could teach the critical thinking so that people in the inner cities and people at the lower economic classes of society can start thinking critically and pull themselves up. They'll have the tools to lift themselves up. I mean, isn't that what the Republicans are always talking about? But they never talk about the implementation. It's like, for example, with abortion, something I'm completely against. I'm also against the death penalty. But Republicans don't offer any way out. Most abortions are due to economic reasons. I haven't got any data on that, but I'm willing to bet that and I'll just tell you some story from Norway. So Republicans need to offer that if they want to stop abortion, not start by banning it, but start by offering free daycare, free hospital care to born the child, especially if it's a single mother, and all the free support they can get, paid for by these taxes I'm talking about, on the junk food, on the celebrities, and make it worth it to have the kid. Like in Norway, a lot of girls get pregnant accidentally, especially on May 17th. They get drunk and they hook up. I know this happened to a few Swedish girls. They party abroad and they have the kids because the state is covering the expenses. So a lot of abortion, I think, is because people can't afford the kid, not because they hate children or something. It's they can't afford it. So why don't Republicans put their money where their mouth is and propose some solutions to make it worthwhile to choose life, and now the last point I wanted to make is everyone's saying, oh, America can't be like Norway because it's too big or we're too diverse. No, it's not true. Norway is very diverse. If you go to Norway, you'll see a lot of nationalities. I have to be careful crossing the street. That's the most dangerous thing to do in America. There's a lot of nationalities, a lot of diversity. What America has to do to be like Norway is first nationalize the oil and nationalize all the energy. So all those profits flow into government coffers to pay for a welfare state like what we have in Scandinavia and provide that safety net. And the Republicans can propose some systems to make it more responsible, more efficient, using IT technology so we don't hire a whole bunch of useless bureaucrats. It can all be done like they do in Norway. Everything is automated and they can create some state-owned companies that have the right KPIs, key performance indicators that the people have to hit. And every year they have to get the budget down and get the output up instead of this system they have in America now where you have to spend everything you have to get the same amount next year. There should always be this target that the bonus is paid on, cutting your costs while keeping the quality the same. The Republicans can propose some extensive solution for this. And then the second thing they have to nationalize is the insurance. If they're going to make buying health insurance mandatory or buying car insurance mandatory, then those companies should be government owned. So all those unused claims, all the money from unused insurance claims, which are profits for corporations and going into the CEO's pocket, those go into the government system, and those go and pay for the programs I'm talking about, and pay for education and whatever else. But maybe even the government can even start returning money back to people in a proper way. then eventually it'll become more efficient, lower taxes. But first you have to have a bigger system and get the economy of scale going. But then if the government owns car insurance companies and they're taking those profits, they can probably offer a better rate if we use the right technologies. In Norway, the insurance is still privatized. Car insurance is still privatized, and it's expensive. And that's something I always thought that they could take over there. Because they do nationalize a lot of companies in Norway, and a lot of good companies in Norway have like 50% state ownership. So they can do this in America. We can do it better, and Republicans should be offering ways to building a better society, not this whole thing like I'm a small business person, I want the government out of my life. Yeah, they don't want the government seeing them sell you substandard food, sell, and then tell you it's caviar, and they're just scooping some frozen stuff from the Cisco company. They don't want to see you taking shortcuts, on fixing someone's car. That's what they want to do. They want to allow that slippage so that knowing people can cheat unknowing people. So we need regulations and all of this. When I was here, a lot of these restaurants are just filthy. And like I said, it's not the workers' problem, it's the owner's problem. So that's my piece. The Republicans want to stop this ladder. They want to consolidate all the power at the upper billionaire classes. They don't want to let new people in. And the ladder consists of 4 rungs: affordable housing, national health care, ubiquitous information, accessible information, and high quality education. If you have those 4 things in place, there's a ladder to climb and people can pull themselves out. And Republicans should be advocating for that, reallocating wealth from Amazon and Microsoft into the middle from Starbucks, and they should be breaking up monopolies to allow small businesses to get more customers and have more competition. That, like I said, it's just, you Republicans have to understand, especially you small business owners, you got to take the side of your customers. The more money they have and the better quality of life they have, the more they'll spend at your business. But if they're tied up with medical bills and student loan bills and high housing payments, that's less money for your business. So you really have to pick a side. And if you pick Amazon's side or McDonald's side, they're just going to employ you as a manager at $50,000 a year. And then you're going to be just like everyone else, just struggling to survive. So choose your side, because the Republicans are sowing the seed for a modern day Bolshevik revolution like October 1917 in Russia. It's just a matter of time before some billionaire Bolshevik, some billionaire version of Karl Marx or Vladimir Lenin come along and create an outright revolt. So think about what you believe in, and think about what the government is. The government is us, the people, and we can make it better. We can make it more efficient, and that's what we should do. We should advocate changing what we have instead of throwing it out or making better what we already have, because it's pretty good. Remember, your choices for rulers are imperfect elected governments, imperfect unelected governments like Putin, drug cartels and gangs, or corporations. So just be careful what you wish for. Take care.